projected to add 15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. Here in India, that number could reach as large as 500 billion in the GDP contribution. 47% of Indian enterprises already have multiple AI use cases, not in pilots, but in production. And 74% just over the last 2 years have accelerated their AI rollout. From precision agriculture to fraud detection in banking to AI-powered diagnostics in rural healthcare, the deployment in AI is real and it is accelerating. So I truly believe that it is an amazing time to build. But I think what is even more exciting is it is time to build responsibly with trust and confidence. Because the question that will define the next wave of AI is not who builds the fastest or the best performing model in the world, but it is who builds with measurable trust. Who gives people, enterprises, institutions, and nations genuine confidence that this AI technology will deliver prosperity and progress for everybody. The next wave of AI will not be defined by capability alone, and this is a core belief we've had since founding the company. It will be defined by trust that you can define, measure, and prove. And that is why the framing of the Impact AI India Summit is so critical. Congratulations to the Indian government for convening the summit around the imperative of impact. India is not just asking the question, should we build AI? I think the exciting thing is India is asking the question, which is a hard one, how do we build AI that works for 1.4 billion people, and how do we prove it that it can be trusted, and how do we make sure that it is impactful? And there's a reason that this question is being asked here. You know, India built Aadhaar, enrolling 1.3 billion people into digital identity system that now underpins everything from banking to healthcare access. India also built UPI, processing over 13 billion transactions a month, making peer-to-peer payments seamless for hundreds and millions of Indians, built on the India AI stack. Now, these are not just technology achievements. I think these are really trust achievements. These work because people trust them. That institutional memory, building systems that billion people can rely on is rare, and that is what this moment in AI really demands. Now, with the release of the AI governance guidelines, India has done some really important work in establishing the foundation which is really underpinning the AI ecosystem in India. Now, the guidelines represent the framework around the 7 sutras that translate responsible AI principle into actionable pathways for builders, enterprises, and institutions. But most importantly, as this technology and sector-specific need evolves across India, the framework can be built upon and augmented. And this is something that we've been actively working with the Indian government on over the past couple of months. Now, this is emblematic of what good, effective governance by design looks like, and we really commend the Indian government for their leadership here. Last month, I had the opportunity to visit with Professor Sood, who is leading the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to Prime Minister Modi, and they've recently published the Techno-Legal Framework for AI Governance. Now, for those unfamiliar with this term, which is techno-legal, it just means that governance is not just written in policies, but it is embedded throughout the AI life cycles. It is measured scientifically, and you are constantly making sure that the trust can be proven. So it is compliance by design, governance by design, not as an afterthought. And the framework basically maps governance across the full AI life cycle, from how data is collected, to how models are trained, to how AI systems are making decisions, to how autonomous agents are going to be operating with full agency. And critically, it is built for India. Purpose-built institutions calibrated to India's sectoral diversity and digital infrastructure. Now, this is the kind of thinking that excites us and that really matters in this age of AI. The next step is really the hard part, making it real. And that means translating this policy into operational standards that enterprises can actually follow. It means investing in AI governance as a professional discipline, not just as AI literacy, but the specific skills needed to assess AI risks, verify AI's trustworthiness, and manage AI systems continuously. It also means that venture capital flowing into trustworthy AI startups and governance tooling. It also means incentivizing all the builders in this room with measurable trust from day one. Defining the framework we believe is necessary, but operationalizing it is the bigger challenge, and it will require a lot of deep work in investment, in skilling, in incentives, and in policy to determine what it changes next. Now, Credo AI has spent past 5 years building software that helps organizations worldwide to operationalize AI governance. And what that means is we take trustworthy AI principles and we turn them into daily workflows, measurable outcomes, measurable checks, and organizational alignment. We work with Fortune 500 companies, many of those that you're going to hear from today on the panel, and there are a few things that we've learned. The first thing that we've learned is context is so important, because the same AI system that can be helpful or harmful depending upon where and how it is used. A simple example, if you have a large language model that works well for answering employee questions inside a company, becomes a very serious risk when it is giving financial advice to a retail customer who may act on that advice. A facial recognition system that is accurate in one country might fail in another just because of demographic disparities. Now, this is why you can't govern AI in abstract, and that's why context really matters. Second is governance really needs to be across the full AI lifecycle. Now, most, I would say, organizations treat AI governance as airport security. It's like the worst thing ever, but it's a single checkpoint before deployment, and we've seen those companies are actually not successful. And the reason for that is you have to really think from your designing to your implementation to putting it in production, how do you actually, in that system, define that measurable trust and make sure that those systems are holistically governed. The third thing which I do want to underscore, because this was a very interesting set of conversations yesterday at the summit, is many assume governance is all about regulation. And I actually think that is a framework or mindset we need to shift. AI governance actually is a competitive advantage. This is one of the biggest opportunities, knowing the risk that you are having in your AI systems that you're either building or buying, aligning your teams and deploying that with confidence. So I think as we increasingly think about governance, governance is becoming a market access requirement. Enterprises want to know, can I trust the AI? Governments want to know, does it meet our standards? Trading partners want to know, can I rely on this AI across borders? And the organizations that can answer yes with evidence are the ones that are winning contracts. And so we really see governance as a steering wheel and not a brake that is going to guide AI to be useful across not only India, but also Global South. And something that we've been working very extensively with across the globe, with standard setting bodies, with regulators, with policymakers, is really thinking about how trust needs to be embedded across standards, institutions, and procurement. Trust is not just a product feature, it has to be woven into the entire ecosystem. Standard bodies need interoperable AI governance benchmarks so that an AI system can be assessed as trustworthy in India, is recognized in Europe, is recognized in Middle East, in Africa. Institutions, banks, hospitals, government agencies really need clear definition of what trust in AI means, and not vague principles, but specific measurable requirements. And this is the work that we've been doing over the past 5 years, making sure that for every application we can define what that trust means and can we measure it. And so trust is how we standardize and how we institutionalize how we buy and sell AI. So I also want to quickly address, before we bring on the panel, a couple of few things, that there is this big conversation happening globally around AI taking jobs, and I would like to offer a very different lens. AI governance actually is creating a whole new category of professional jobs that didn't even exist like 1 year ago or 2 years ago. And these roles require distinctly human skills: judgment, contextual reasoning, ethical analysis, stakeholder communication, that AI in itself cannot replace. AI evaluators, professionals who test and stress test AI systems for safety, fairness, and accuracy before and after deployment. AI governors, people who design and manage the policy frameworks and the workflows that keep AI aligned with organizational and regulatory requirements. Managers of AI agents, I mean, if Clawbot was any indication over the past 10 days, we know that we need humans to really think through what does automated governance look like, but at the same time be able to manage this massive army of agents. And so trust and verification specialists are also becoming a core role. It's a professional who audits AI systems, produces the evidence that enterprises and regulators need to have confidence. So these are not speculative roles. These are happening right now, right here, across the globe. For anyone in the room who's early in their career or even starting a startup, I would certainly suggest that AI governance is going to be that next frontier of job creation that humans are going to be critical for. The future of work in AI is not just about building AI. It is about verifying, governing, and earning trust in AI. And that's where some of the most important careers for the next decades will be. So everything that I've shared just now is coming from practice. It's not coming from theory. As I said, for the past 5 years, we've been working extensively with governments and enterprises to really define what trust looks like and to embed that in their software development, in their AI development processes. And so today, we are so excited to, one, launch the global compendium of contextual AI use cases with some of our customers and partners. Some of those will be on the panel in just a bit, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about them. But I think this is really important because as we are thinking about what does context mean in terms of AI governance, you can't have a peanut butter approach to AI governance. It really needs to be grounded in impact that each and every AI application is going to have, whether it's in healthcare, whether it is in lending, whether it is in facial recognition systems, whether it is in defense. And so certainly, if you have your phones out, please check out the compendium. I am so grateful for our partners and customers, MasterCard, Autodesk, G42, IAPP, and Cisco for contributing some really exciting use cases so that as you go on into your organizations, you can bring these use cases to bear. Now, we are all here because we all believe in potential of AI, or we are afraid of what it's going to create. But for whatever reason you're all here, let's be honest where things stand. AI governance feels super overwhelming. Everyone I speak with around AI governance doesn't really know how to dissect this complex topic. New rules every week. We have 72 countries with over 1,000 policy initiatives. The EU AI Act, the AI governance guidelines in India, South Korea's Basic AI Act, sector-specific frameworks from RBI to SEC. Risks are expanding fast, and so are the opportunities. So whether you're a startup founder building your first product or an enterprise leader scaling across market, the question really is, where do I begin? And 5 years of building AI governance software has taught us that there is no single credible source of truth in AI governance. Everyone means different things when they talk about AI governance. And it's actually as a company that has created this category, it's painful to watch. So today, I am really excited to be solving that challenge because today we are also launching the first global AI governance insights hub. And this is a really monumental thing, and I'll share a little bit more about what this hub hopes to do. But it is a comprehensive, continuously updated, single source of truth for AI policies, for AI risk, controls, models, and also vendors. As you're buying a lot of third-party AI systems, how do you know which ones to trust? How do you know which ones to buy? How do you unpack the very complex AI supply chain? Our hope is that Credo AI's AI Governance Hub is the answer to that solution. It is not just augmented by our governance AI agents, but also by Credo AI's human intelligence through our team at Credo AI. The exciting thing is this is not a static document. It is actually tailored to your need. As I mentioned, context is so important in governing these AI systems, and your input, your industry, your regions, your specific risk profiles, your use cases in plain language, this hub takes in that information, and with Credo AI's governance intelligence, gives you an AI-powered snapshot of your governance posture and a plan how you can get started. I also want to just quickly focus on the 3 pillars that this hub really tries to address right now, and then where we are augmenting it. So the first pillar is the policy tracker. Again, as I mentioned, regulation is just one teeny tiny component of governance, but we just want to make sure that Credo AI can provide you the single system of record for what truth looks like in even regulation. So right now, the regulatory landscape, as you know, is exploding. We have aggregated all the major regulations globally and translated them into plain language so that you all can understand what this means for your businesses. But this is also where we actually work with the policymakers and regulators to make sure all the implementation that is shared here actually is validated by them. The second is the risk taxonomy. Again, one of the key things when we talk about AI risk is what is the harm to your brand, to your revenue, to the people that it serves. So this risk taxonomy provides 16 distinct risk types mapped from policy violations to bias, to security vulnerabilities, hallucinations, so that you can see exactly where you're exposed. And then the third thing is risk and policies are kind of futile without the right controls in place. And this is, we believe, is the bridge between the knowing and the doing, and a specific mitigation strategy for every risk, not just the diagnosis, but from human-in-the-loop oversight to technical stress tests. And what is really exciting is obviously, we do have a platform, but we are making this available for free to everyone in Global South, because what is really important to us is that it improves with your contributions. So I'll share the QR code in just a bit, but this hub lets the community vote on risk control mappings and the rate of impact of policies, the severity of these risks, and this is a collective effort, governance intelligence as a shared responsibility. So I really hope that all of you would, join us. I'll leave this on for just a second so that you can, and we'll be sharing this after the session as well. Your contributions are going to be really critical to make sure that Global South continues to lead in trusted AI, because without that, we are just going to be beholden to models that might not work in context that is required for Global South. And so, I do want to now switch to going back to something I started with, which is it is a really exciting time to build with AI. And today we are so excited to bring some extraordinary folks to the panel. These are the builders who are not only defining what the next era of AI is going to be, but these are the builders who are defining what responsible and trustworthy AI looks like. They are the ones who understand that trust is truly the unlock across technology, across standards, across institutions, across procurement, across borders. And what really gets built with trust doesn't just serve India. We believe that it's going to serve the entire Global South. And these builders that I'm going to be inviting are actually making that happen across enterprises, from financial sector to retail to frontier model to healthcare. So with that, Magesh Bhagwati, who is the Senior Vice President and Global Head of Data and Analytics and AI at PepsiCo, please welcome to the stage. Caroline Levu, who is the Chief Privacy, AI, and Data Responsibility Officer at MasterCard. Fabrice CS, who is the Group Head of Responsible AI at G42. G42 is leading some really exciting work at the frontier of AI, building their own models for the Global South. So really excited to have you here, Fabrice. And lastly, Rajiv Gupta, who is the President at PB FinTech. Rajiv, welcome. So we are now going to kick into a very exciting panel conversation because everything that we've shared today, these builders are operationalizing that at scale across their businesses. Great. Hello, how's everyone doing?
Wonderful,
Good?
thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so all of you have a very important responsibility. All of you have a very important responsibility in your organizations, not only to lead in AI, but to build responsible AI. So maybe, Fabrice, I'll start with you. What does that role mean, and why is it important to G42?
Mike, is that working? Yes. Yep. Brilliant. Yeah, in G42, we are a global, as you said, technology company based in Abu Dhabi. And we bring the full AI infrastructure. So we build data center at scale. We build the biggest data center capability and capacity outside of the US. We bring the digital infrastructure, which is safe, sovereign, to create tokens of intelligence. And then we develop AI models across a lot of industry. In healthcare, in geospatial activities, in smart cities, we bring frontier model to bear. Frontier model we develop in Hindi and English, in Arabic and English, in Kazakh and English. So for us, we need to bring responsible AI at national scale and regional scale. And to do that, responsible AI, as you say, Navrina, is a no-brainer, has to be part of the strategy, because what we develop has to be really secure. Data have to be protected, the handling of data has to be sovereign, but we need trust to develop AI at government level and really at scale across the regions. So, as you say, responsible AI is not an airport security check, it's really, really embedded as a strategic imperative in everything we do.
Thank you, Fabrice. And you know, Carolyn, you and I have worked for a very, very long time together. MasterCard was our second customer when we were just getting started. And you've made this a core part of your strategy, but you've implemented this across the entire financial inclusion for all the financial products. So tell me a little bit more about where is MasterCard today? How are you making responsible AI real, especially across some of the agents that you've developed recently as well?
Thank you so much, Navrina. So happy to be here with all of you today. So let me first say a quick word about MasterCard and AI, because it may not be obvious to all of you. So AI is nothing new for MasterCard. We have been leveraging AI for decades to make our network safer and more secure. So for example, we use AI to make sure that you are who you say you are when you make a payment, or to detect legitimate from fraudulent spending behaviors. And then more recently, we are leveraging Gen AI techniques that help us increase the speed and the accuracy of our fraud detection tools by up to 300%. So it's a real game changer. And as you said, Navrina, for us, the only AI is responsible AI. It is all about trust, way beyond regulations, to your point. Because for innovation to scale, people have to trust it, right? So we have been investing in AI governance for way before it was a hot topic. Now, to be honest, our customers have also been very explicit. That's what they expect. And they are very clear that one of the key reasons why they select us is because they trust us more. As simple as that. And we've learned early on that actually responsible AI is not a friction. It actually provides the business with clarity, with confidence, with guardrails that they can embed into the design of their innovations from day one, throughout their life cycle. And so if done well, it can really accelerate innovation. I'm going to keep it that.
No, I think you just hit on something which is so important. Like the trust is how your customers really believe in MasterCard. And I think there's such a great validation for Magesh, for you guys, PepsiCo, where brand is so critical to making sure that any AI that is used is actually bolstering that customer trust, that PepsiCo's reputation. And you play a very important role leading the entire AI portfolio and data strategy at PepsiCo. So tell us a little bit more about concretely, maybe an example of where responsible AI has sort of helped shape a lot of your PepsiCo's work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good to see everyone here. We've got a full crowd here, so thank you all for coming. By the way, I was actually 30 years back. I was just in your backyard. I was working in Aeroplace before I ended up here. So, well, thank you. But yes, local makes a difference. Um, with regards to PepsiCo, on a daily basis, we serve around 1.4 billion consumers. So that's sips and bites every day. So for us, it's really about serving the community. It's about ensuring that truly the Prime Minister's vision of Vasudeva Kudumbam really comes to life. And what that really means is really it's welfare for all, it's happiness for all as well. And so when we talk about that, when we talk about AI, we almost very easily switch to, okay, there's benefits for me, but there could also be harm for me or for us or for the collective overall planet itself. So it's something that we've got to really walk the fine line, because we're focused on two things. One is we want to all innovate at speed, but we also want to ensure that we are not taking undue risk as well as we're innovating at speed. So that's a fine line that we're walking. So I'll give you an example. We were actually doing a campaign for Mountain Dew. The marketing team was doing a campaign for Mountain Dew. And the responsible AI team got involved in the campaign. And very quickly, one of the things we noticed was taking pictures of mountains. Well, certain mountains could be copyright infringement. So very quickly, the team got together, worked with the marketing team, and we ensured that we had the right marketing campaign go out, and also made changes to the applications as well, the app itself that was doing. That made sure that we're not only launching the capability with the right mechanics, but we're also launching the right capability for the right consumers with the right guardrails in place. So I think responsible AI is not a back office function, like you mentioned, but it's really a front office function, because it truly is welfare for all.
Oh, thank you so much, Magesh. And I think, as a big fan of PepsiCo product, the sips and bites really resonates with me. And that goes to healthcare, because Rajiv, you and I were just talking backstage about PB FinTech is one of the largest provider of insurance lending software, but also they're foraying into healthcare. So maybe would love to understand, like, why is trust important to you, Rajiv, and how are you embedding that across your AI lifecycle?
As you know, PB FinTech. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for having me here. As we spoke, a little while before the session, PB FinTech represents largely the BFSI segment. And banking and financial services without trust is not innovation, right? It is liability. We are accountable to the regulators. We are accountable to the customers. We are accountable, for long-term brand equity as well. When PB FinTech was launched, we started Policy Bazaar first. And to answer your question, we deal with about close to 1 million customers every day, and over 200 million customers, a year. I mean, leaving aside some of the holidays, so about 250 million customers. Many years later, we launched Paisa Bazaar, which is a lending platform. So we are today one of the largest lenders. So who gets an insurance policy? Who gets the loan sanctioned? Who, at the end of the day, is trying to do a fraud with us? Since we connect with so many people every day, how do we summarize the conversations we've had during the day? It's all thanks to AI, and governance for us is upfront, because everything we do is regulated. RBI is one of the largest regulators here in the country. We have IRDA, which regulates the insurance sector. On the health side, obviously there is no regulator, but there are responsibilities we have. We've just launched PB Health, where we are setting up, hospitals across the country. We launched this company this year. For the first 5 hospitals, we have chosen Delhi NCR as a pilot. The whole objective is, how do we deal with India as a country, keeping in mind the whole uniqueness of this country, right? We have 140 crore people living in this country, of which 30-40 crore people live below the poverty line, generally get covered by social security schemes, unlike the US and Europe, where social security scheme is available for everybody. We also have the top 20 crore, 30 crore people who manage things on their own, because they are either earning enough to be able to manage things. But the larger challenge we have in this country is those 60, 70 crore people who live in middle class and lower middle class. For them, affordability is a big challenge, right? And in this country, the 2 big areas we will need to obviously work very closely is, how do we improve financial literacy, and how do we build that trust? And AI is the biggest platform for us to use that, and that's what we have done. We adapted AI way back in 2019, and today, thanks to AI, we are able to handle volumes, and our ability to reach to every pin code of the country, and educate people on why understanding finance is important, leave alone buying insurance, leave alone, buying. And secondly, how do people living in the middle class decide what is important for them and their families? If they buy a health insurance, can health be affordable for them? If I go to a hospital, can I afford that cost? If I don't have a health insurance, and if I have a health insurance, is it enough for me to cover my challenges? So I think AI for us will do everything in a hospital scenario where the customer enters as a patient till the time he gets discharged. If he gets hospitalized, everything is going to be managed through AI.
Absolutely, Rajiv. And this is something we were just discussing yesterday with Meti and others, is the culturally sensitive profile in India, the large population base, also the need for inclusivity and making sure these AI systems work for all is so critical. So Fabrice, would love to hear from you, because something that has been really exciting to watch is how G42 is not just building frontier models, but they're actually building models that work for Global South. So tell us a little bit more about, obviously all the innovation on frontier models, but why is Global South important to you?
Yeah, no, it's very important. I give you an example. We are very proud. We are launching a pilot for digital schools in Azerbaijan. And the intention is to bring basically the knowledge in all the schools and also accelerate what teachers can do, so we can be more efficient and share the knowledge more effectively. To do that, we develop language models that are based on the local language, and due to scarcity of data, of resource or skills, it took a lot of effort to be very, very contextual in the way we develop the model, to do a lot of testing in the model. And when you develop something at national level and for schools, where you have to build a lot of security and you have to build a lot of trust. And for us, it's very, very important to bring all the skills we have developed internally in the Global South to benefit that. And we do the same for in the English languages, Arabic, large language models as well, we are developing. So for us, the Global South is part of the construct of all what we do.
No, thank you, Fabrice. Maybe, Caroline, I'll just go to you. You're based in Europe. Obviously, MasterCard is multinational. So tell me a little bit more about when you're building AI products, how do you take into account the context, especially for India, and weave that into products so that it actually is inclusive and working for all?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's important to understand that the principles remain the same. So I think it's really important for companies to be driven by a set of global principles that act as your North Star and that guide everything that you do with AI. But then, to your point, you may need to localize the controls and the guardrails so that they fit for purpose, to take into account the local regulations, the digital maturity, the cultural differences, societal expectations, and of course, Global South is something that has to be top of mind. So for example, transparency. How do you make sure that your AI innovations are very clear and understandable by everyone? And I think for India, it's particularly relevant given the scale, the diversity, the multiple languages that are at play here. Same for fairness. How are you sure that your training data reflect the diversity of the population so that the outcomes are fair? Now, the good news is that at MasterCard, we have our AI garage that is based here in India, in Pune. And we have 6,000 technologies that are really working day in, day out to develop the next generation of our innovations with the Global South in mind. And they conduct also all our research and development. And so that is totally top of mind for us. And then on top of that, we are also working with academic institutions to bring that outside-in perspective, which is really, really important, so that you don't actually, work in echo chamber. You get expertise from outside. And then, given the pace of change of the technology, I think this is absolutely critical to keep everyone in mind so that AI works for everyone, including here.
So Carolyn, just very curious, is Agent Pay now available in India, or is it only?
It is, and we just announced it today.
Oh, great.
So
wow.
Fresh, hot off the press.
I think when you think about AI agents and everything that's coming in the future, maybe just very quickly on agentic AI governance, how are you thinking about it?
Yes, agentic commerce brings a whole lot of exciting opportunities, but also, it brings some anxieties to some of us. And look, we're going to be driven again by the same principles. I think our mission at Mastercard is to make sure that agent-led transactions are equally safe and secure, and to bring everyone along the journey to set the standards so that it works at scale in a trusted manner. And so we're going to bring our capabilities in terms of fraud protection, cybersecurity, building standards, but that's very exciting.
Certainly is, and we look forward to sharing more about agentic AI governance frameworks we are thinking about for Global South, and potentially an opportunity to collaborate there as well.
Happy to partner, Navrina.
Yes. Magesh, I'm very curious. I won't go into retail because, you know that in and out, but are there things from other sectors that have either surprised you in responsible AI or excited you that you want to bring into retail so that your AI is more trusted, whether you are buying third-party AI or developing your own?
I mean, it's a great question because we're still in the early innings of AI, right? So we're all collectively learning. So one of the things I truly believe is AI is an equal opportunity leveler, right? Organizations are going to be flattened. Industries are going to be also having a lot more seamless interconnectedness, unlike kind of the walls we actually have today. So and when you think about PepsiCo, we're not just limited to certain components of maybe a brand that you think about. We're through the entire food chain or value chain, all the way from farm to manufacturing, to supply chain, to go-to-market, to shelves, to eventually to the consumers and the consumers' homes and the pallets, right? And brands as well, and associated marketing. So we're through the full value chain, and in that part of the value chain, we're connected with almost every aspect of most industries. And let me share an example of kind of what we've leveraged from the tech world. Is we're actually, I mean, some of the favorite brands here, at least, that actually started in India is Kurkure, right? But at the same time, there's other brands as well, like Lay's or Doritos. And these brands, a lot of the innovation for these brands actually come because we've actually got local ingredients in them. So we've got local farmers embedded, engaged with us as we're actually building these brands. The freshness of the food, the high quality of the food, that's one. So there's also another piece as well that we're actually collaborating right now is with Meta in terms of really WhatsApp ordering. So you can actually go into a Kinara store, and we actually have customers in Kinara stores that can actually now start ordering via voice, via image, via video, or just native ordering. And so it integrates the food, the full chain with, and you talked about earlier, you've got Aadhaar, you've got UPI, you've got MasterCard. So we're integrating across the full chain with all the best practices that we have, but with still affordability of the market, Rajiv, like you talked about, because that's a very key component for this market here.
And Magesh, as you are using facial recognition, voice recognition, I mean, governance becomes so central to making sure that you're protecting every citizen, their biometrics. So I'm very curious, could you talk a little bit more about how you're thinking about, maybe doing more for India in responsible AI and governance so that these systems not only work, but are going to be trusted?
See, this is where it's the coalition of the willing and the coalition of the partnership. I mean, I'll give a plug for Navrina and her team, right? Credo.ai is a very critical part of how we run the entire governance lifecycle. So as we're actually building these systems, we're actually using the software development lifecycle. Now we're calling it AI development lifecycle. And through the full lifecycle, it's not only responsible AI typically gets invoked or involved or cyber teams towards the end of the process, but through the full lifecycle. And in that process, we're actually embedding how do we think about consumer protection. Legal's involved way in the beginning rather than later in the processes. And the point is, as more and more consumer ecosystems really comes into our consumer data platform, we've got to be that much more responsible as we execute our game going forward.
Absolutely, and we are excited to continuing collaborating with you and making responsible AI more operational across PepsiCo. Rajiv, you mentioned something which really I've been thinking deeply about is you know, it's not just about tooling and just building trust and magically it happens. It's a lot about education and AI literacy. So I would love for you to like maybe talk a little bit more about within PB FinTech, how are you making your employees not only understand AI, but also responsible AI? Because again, AI skilling is one thing. It's really understanding how do you put governance guardrails in place. So talk to us a little bit more about your AI literacy initiatives.
So, I mean, straight away to answer your question, first of all, we have now started monitoring AI usage across levels of employees. So we are encouraging that if you don't adopt AI now, you will have a problem in future. So if I have to be 3x or 4x from where I am today, adopting AI is very, very crucial. First of all, getting the right skilled people today, who understand AI, it continues to be a big challenge in a country like ours, right? So while we have a lot of people, we are training people to use AI very effectively. And AI to us is all about fairness, right? Today we live in a country where we have other big challenges, right? Today we are not an online country. Technically, we've done many things. We've created UPI, Aadhaar. Those are obviously facilitators for people to start coming online. But if you look at this country, very significant portion today still believes that people should come and meet them face to face, and do transactions. To move from that scenario, to ask people to trust online requires a lot of responsibility, requires to ensure that we remain accountable to everything we do, on online. We also want to ensure that our accountability towards the regulators is very high because we are under very strict regulations. Any challenges we face there could also completely close our business down. And so to us, not only adoption of AI, using AI effectively, what can AI do for us? For example, I'll just tell you one small story on which we are working today. We believe while India is moving towards Viksit Bharat in 2047, today there is a population who are 60 plus, and that's about 10 crore people. Now, if you study, this number is going to be 60 crore people in 2047, which means a significant rise in senior citizen population, which also means today's 40-year-olds are tomorrow's citizens, senior citizens. So how do we identify to customize products for today's 40-year-olds so that they safeguard their interest when they grow old? They don't have an income plan. There'll be a problem because with longevity increasing, how will they survive? So AI is going to help us to identify such people, customize products for them, and at the same time, reach out to every pin code, as I mentioned to you, in the country, keeping in mind diversity, multiple languages that we have in this country, because people will not understand English or Hindi. We'll have to also adopt, multi-language training programs to be able to use AI effectively. So when in 2047, when we have 60 crore people, can they live a life with respect? Because 80% of those people today don't have an income plan, don't have a health insurance plan. Now imagine what impact it will have on the country which doesn't have a social security scheme if this is not addressed today. And that is where AI is helping us.
Absolutely, Rajiv. We are going to go to the last question. I think this is a really important question because we all are gathered here to really think about what do we want from this India AI Impact Summit. So maybe, quickly, maybe Magesh, we can start from you. What are your hopes and what does success look like for you and for PepsiCo coming out of this India Summit? Like one actionable thing that you would like to see. And we'll make sure that the answers are limited to less than a minute so we can round it up.
Sure. One of the things I'm super excited about what India is doing is really associated with sovereign AI and building the necessary infrastructure at a governmental level, at a policy level, at educational institutions, for enterprises and for industries, and really also trying to make sure it flows all the way down to its citizenry. So for us as serving 1.4 billion consumers every day, leveraging this kind of capability is a huge advantage for us because we can piggyback off all of the digital capabilities, the AI capabilities that a country like India is offering, and thereby ensuring that we are able to have the necessary fairness, equity, equality, but most importantly, welfare and happiness for all.
Thank you so much, Magesh. Caroline?
So quickly, one thing that we haven't really spoken about is, of course, we speak a lot about the huge opportunities of AI, but let's be clear, AI also lowers the barrier to entry for cybercrime. Think of how easy it has become now to generate deepfakes. Anyone can do that in their garage, right, or in the bedroom. And then how easy it has become to trick people into sending money or data to fraudsters. And the threat is only amplified now with agentic and new developments in AI. So if we want to stay one step ahead of cybercriminals, we must join forces, we must act together, and we must be able to share data intelligence across borders and across the public and private sector. That is absolutely mission critical. And so if we want AI to continue to be safe, we must combat fragmentation of standards and data silos because it only benefits cybercriminals. And so that's what I hope to achieve.
Well, thank you so much. Rajiv and then Fabrice, bring us home.
Yeah, so as I mentioned to you in fintech and insurtech, you know, for us, AI risks are amplified because decisions affect financial futures, right? Outcomes are, obviously asymmetric, Errors compound socially. So for us, ensuring that responsible AI with highest governance standards is very crucial. It is early days for India, but India is growing fast as far as AI is concerned. Today we use a mix of open AI and local AI to be able to build what we are trying to build across our businesses. To conclude, I would say financial services taught us to be cautious. AI first companies taught us to be systematic.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. Fabrice?
Yeah, for me, that is blueprint, adoption, and leadership. So if we could define a blueprint for responsible AI in the global south, taking into account all the contextual challenges that we need to address, making sure it's safe, making sure it's trusted, but making sure we respect basically all the, all the local culture and requirements is very important to define this blueprint. Adoption, because if we don't adopt AI, we don't get enough, data points to improve AI, and we don't make AI safer and more trusted. So that's very, very important. And leadership on the global stage, well, we see a need for leadership in responsible AI. So if we could wish that this place and India could be a leading place for the global south, this would be great.
Wow, Fabrice, that was exactly what I was going to say, but just kidding. But I think that's a really good summary. Like blueprint, what does trustworthy AI in India but Global South really mean? I think this summit has such a great opportunity to make that happen. What does adoption at scale look like? Because it will need all of us to make sure responsible AI is embedded. And I think leadership also is responsibility. So how are we making sure, to Carolyn's point, we have the right standards and right guardrails? Becomes really critical to make sure that our builders are not just building with AI, but they're doing so with trust and responsibility central to it. So with that, please give a big round of applause to all the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much to all of our panelists and Navrina for such an insightful discussion. It was great to hear about how global practices are being employed here for local impact in India and across the global south. We heard some really great examples of AI use across the value chain, and we hope that we've left this audience with insights that you can take with you as you drive the AI transformation journey in your enterprises. Now we're going to do a quick ceremony of mementos for each of our speakers. So if we could just one by one have each of you. So Fabrice, we can start with you. Navrina, if you can. Not me.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Caroline. Magesh. And Rajiv.
Rajiv, thank you so much.
Pleasure, ma'am.
It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please click a picture with both of you.
Thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Yes, we'll be in touch.
Yes. Oh,